you're broke, you don't ask too many questions. The apartment was tiny, the rent was half of what anything else in the city cost, and the landlord only wanted first month's rent and a handshake. That should have been my first warning. The second came when I saw the walls. At first I thought it was just water damage, long brown streaks running down the yellowing wallpaper, like the ceiling had leaked at some point and never been repaired. But when I touched it, the surface was tacky, sticky, and when I pulled my hand away, the residue on my fingers was dark red. I told myself it was rust. Old pipes. Maybe something seeped through. But deep down, I knew what it looked like. Blood. The first night, I lay awake on my mattress, staring at the stains in the dim glow of the streetlight outside. The streaks looked fresh now, darker than before. Around 3 a.m., I heard a sound, drip, drip, like water tapping against the baseboards. I got up, flicked on the light and froze. The streaks on the wall were moving. Thin rivulets trickled downward, wet and shining, cutting fresh paths through the wallpaper. I stumbled back. My bare foot landed in something warm. I looked down. A drop of red glistened on the floorboards, and then another fell beside it. Drip, drip. By morning, the stains looked old again, dry, harmless. I convinced myself it was exhaustion, shadows playing tricks. When I mentioned it to the landlord, he just shrugged. Old building. Pipes sweat sometimes. You'll get used to it, but pipes don't sweat blood. The next night, the sound came earlier. Not just dripping this time. Whispers. Faint, muffled, like someone talking through the wall. I pressed my ear against it, heart racing. The voices were low, overlapping. I couldn't make out the words, but I recognized the rhythm. Like arguments overlapping conversations. Whispers meant to stay secret. And beneath it all, a slow, wet sound. Like something dragging across the other side of the plaster. I backed away. Crawled under the blanket like a child. But I couldn't block the noise, because the voices weren't coming from just one wall. They were everywhere, surrounding me. By the third night, the smell started. Not rot exactly, metallic, thick. The kind of smell that clings in the back of your throat like a nosebleed that won't stop. I opened every window, burned candles. Nothing helped. When I woke up, my pillowcase was stained red. My nose hadn't bled. My skin was clean. But the pillow was spotted with tiny dots of fresh blood, as if it had dripped from the ceiling in the night. I checked above. No leaks, no cracks, just another long brown streak sliding down toward me. I tried to record it. Left my phone camera pointed at the wall overnight. When I played the video back the next morning, my stomach dropped. At first, it just showed the wall. Still harmless. But at 2:13 a.m., the streaks began to glisten. Liquid spread outward, pulsing, almost like veins. And then, for a split second, shapes appeared in the stains, faces twisted, screaming faces pressing outward, like they were trapped inside the plaster. I shut the video off. Deleted it immediately, but I couldn't unsee it. Last night I woke to a different sound, not dripping, not whispers. Knocking. 3 slow knocks, coming from inside the wall right beside my bed. I pressed my hand against it, trembling, and something pressed back. Firm, cold, human. I dragged my mattress into the middle of the room, away from the walls, but that didn't stop it. The bleeding is worse now. Every morning the stains are thicker, darker, the whispers louder, and tonight I swear I heard my name clear, drawn out from inside the wall. Daniel. I don't know how much longer I can stay here, but the problem is, I don't think the apartment will let me leave. Because just now, As I'm writing this, the stains on the wall are spelling something. The letters drip downward, carving words into the wallpaper. Stay. Story 2. The Tenants. Before me, the landlord swore no one had lived here in months, but that was a lie. I found the first clue by accident. While moving a dresser away from the wall, I discovered a scrap of paper wedged between the floorboards. Yellowed, water-stained, torn along the edges. It was a letter. Most of it was unreadable, but one line stood out in frantic, smeared ink. It won't stop calling my name. No signature. No date. I dropped it like it was burning. The apartment had only one neighbor on my floor. An older woman 2 doors down. The kind who peeks through her chain lock before deciding if you're worth talking to. When I asked her how long she'd lived in the building, she squinted at me like she was deciding whether or not to tell the truth. Long enough, she said finally. Do you remember who lived in my unit before me? I asked. She pursed her lips. You don't want to know. Please, I pressed. Her eyes darted toward my door. She lowered her voice. 4 different tenants in the last year. All gone. Gone? She nodded. Packed up in the middle of the night. Some didn't even take their things. Just ran. I felt a chill creep through me. Why? Her mouth trembled. The walls. And with that she slammed her door shut. That night I lay awake listening to the whispers seep through the plaster. Louder now, clearer. I could almost make out words. Hungry. Stay. Join us. At some point, exhaustion pulled me under. But I dreamed of a dozen faces staring at me from the bleeding streaks, mouths open, whispering in perfect unison. When I woke, the walls were wet again, and in the center of the room, a single word had dripped down onto the floorboards. Letters jagged and shaking. Soon I couldn't take it anymore. I marched downstairs to confront the landlord. He looked annoyed when I banged on his office door. What now? The walls, I snapped. They're bleeding. They're whispering. You knew this place was fucked before you rented it to me. He chuckled bitterly. That's why it's cheap. I stared at him in disbelief. You think this is funny? You'll get used to it. His eyes flicked past me up the stairwell. Or you won't. What happened to the last tenants? I demanded. He sighed, rubbed his temples. For a moment, I thought he might actually confess, but instead he muttered, Not my problem, and shut the door in my face. The next morning, I noticed something new. The stains weren't just random streaks anymore. They were patterns, outlines. When I stepped back, my stomach lurched. Faces, dozens of them, smeared into the wallpaper, eyes hollow, mouths frozen in silent screams. I touched one. The surface was wet. My fingertip came away red, and for the briefest moment the eyes moved. I tried researching the building. City records showed it was nearly 100 years old. Originally built as a boarding house. Over the decades, it changed hands half a dozen times, but something strange kept popping up. Clusters of missing persons reports, each tied to this address. Every decade, the same pattern. Tenants disappearing, belongings left behind, cases unsolved. The most recent was just 6 months ago. A woman named Kara, 24 years old, last seen in my unit. The photo on the missing persons site made my chest tighten. Her face looked familiar, and then it hit me. One of the stains on my wall. The outline of her screaming face. It wasn't just water damage, the walls were keeping them. That night, the knocking came again. But this time it wasn't gentle. It was frantic, fists pounding from inside the walls, shaking the plaster, rattling the picture frames. Help us, a voice screamed. I stumbled back, clutching my ears. The voices multiplied, overlapping, desperate. Let us out. Please. I pressed my hands against the wall. I can't. I don't know how. The pounding stopped. Silence fell. And then, one voice, calm, cold, whispered, "You're next." I didn't sleep. Couldn't. I sat on the mattress, clutching a kitchen knife, watching the walls glisten and pulse in the dark. Around 4 a.m., I heard the front door creak open. I held my breath, slow. Heavy footsteps shuffled across the floor. They stopped just outside my bedroom door. For a long moment, nothing. Just silence. Then, in my own voice, the thing on the other side whispered through the cracks, "Stay." Story 3. The walls remember should have left days ago. Packed what little I had and run, even if it meant sleeping under a bridge. But the apartment won't let me. Every time I try, something stops me. The locks jam. The door swells in its frame. The hallway stretches longer than it should, dragging me back toward the bleeding walls and the whispers. They beg me to stay, no worse. They command it. I tried once. 2 nights ago. I stuffed my backpack with clothes and bolted for the stairwell. The exit door was right there, glowing with the orange light of the street beyond. But when I shoved it open, the world outside wasn't the street. It was more walls. Endless. Rotting wallpaper dripping red. Faces pressing outward like bloated corpses under ice. They watched me with hollow eyes, and every single one was screaming. I slammed the door shut and staggered back into the hall. My apartment door was waiting for me. Wide open, inviting. I don't even remember walking back in, but somehow I ended up on the mattress again, staring at the ceiling, and the stains were moving. Not dripping this time. Crawling. They spidered across the plaster like veins, pulsing, connecting. And in the silence of that room, I realized the truth. The building wasn't haunted. The building was alive. The walls breathe. I've heard them at night, a slow inhaling sigh that rattles the floorboards. The stains are veins, pumping blood, feeding the thing that holds me here, and the whispers, God, the whispers. They're not ghosts. They're memories, imprints of the people it's already taken. The ones whose faces scream from the plaster. The ones the walls have already eaten. Last night, I woke to find the mattress soaked. At first, I thought I'd sweated through the sheets. But when I sat up, the stench hit me. It wasn't sweat, it was blood, dark and warm, seeping from the walls, pooling on the floor. I tried wading to the door, but the liquid was knee-deep, dragging at my legs like quicksand, and beneath the surface, hands clawing at my ankles, pulling me down. I screamed and scrambled onto the dresser, trembling as pale, drowned faces surfaced all around me, mouths opening and closing silently beneath the rising flood. When the sun came up, the room was dry again. No blood, no bodies, just stains. But the taste of iron still clung to my tongue, and my ankles were ringed with bruises, finger-shaped. I'm not alone anymore. Something walks the apartment at night. I hear it dragging its feet through the hall, trailing wet sounds behind it. Once I caught a glimpse of it in the bathroom mirror. For half a second, my reflection wasn't me. The eyes were wrong. Too dark, too deep. And when I stepped closer, the reflection smiled before I did. I found another note today, tucked under the loose floorboard by the radiator, scrawled in shaky handwriting, smeared with dried red. The walls don't forget. They keep us. They'll keep you too. The signature was a name I recognized. Kara, the last tenant, the one still screaming silently from the wall by my bed. Tonight is worse. The walls aren't whispering anymore. They're screaming. The faces thrash against the plaster, stretching it thin, veins bursting. Blood pours in sheets, flooding the floor, splashing against my legs. I'm writing this perched on the dresser again. Shaking, my notebook already spotted red. I don't think I'll make it until morning. The apartment doesn't want me to because it's hungry, and I'm the only one left to feed it. The plaster is cracking. Something is pushing through. Pale fingers, slick with blood, curling into the air. A face is forming in the wall opposite me. My face, and it's smiling. If anyone finds this, don't rent this place. Don't even step inside. The walls remember everyone. And now they'll remember me too.